Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and we are absolutely thrilled to have back with us. He is a iconic lawyer, Jim Brosnahan. He's a senior of counsel at Morrison Foerster, and we're going to chat about his memoir, Justice at Trial, Courtroom Battles and Groundbreaking Cases. Joining me, as always, I can say as always now,
you can,
is my co-host, Kristen Fogel. How you doing, Kristen?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Drew?
All ready for the holidays?
I'm ready for the holidays. I'm ready to do this.
All right, very, very good.
Yeah.
Jim, are you ready for the holidays?
I'm ready. I'm looking forward to it.
That is terrific. So when we chatted with you before, we sort of dove a little bit into your memoir, but I want to spend more time with this. 60 years as a trial lawyer, seeing a lot of very cool cases, to say the least, on this. Before we get started, and I'm sure the answer is yes, are you following all the repartee back and forth with Trump and gag orders and everything in between?
I am addicted to it, and I rate each commentator on trial work in terms of, and they range. Some of them are very, very good. Some, I'm not sure why they're on there.
Yeah, well, so what the last gag order, I've been trying to follow it as well. The appeals court upheld the lower court, correct?
Yes.
Right, exactly. And of course, he's in, so he's got, how many gag orders does he have and how many different trials? Is it just two?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how many gag orders there are. He doesn't pay a whole lot of attention to them. And he presents the judge with a real problem, because judges have a right to put a gag order out there. It can cover things that are reasonable to cover. Attacking a law clerk is a first. I think Trump has plowed new ground on that. And the words that he uses are inappropriate for certainly any lawyer to use. But he's conducting a political campaign inside the courtroom. And that's not appropriate for a criminal case of any kind, but that's what he's doing.
So, because my friends asked me this, because you think of gag orders, you think of First Amendment, and I worked for a newspaper running community and public relations, and we hear a lot of cases of of journalists, sometimes being hauled into court, very rarely, or jail, I should say, because if they're not giving up their sources and all this. But when you talk about gag orders during your career, have you had to deal with a lot of those?
Yes. It's not unusual in a publicized case to have a gag order, although usually the judge will wait and see what's happening. And if nobody's commenting, then there won't be a gag order. But if someone is not only commenting and saying things that are outside what the judge will tolerate, then put in a gag order. I'm not sure that I ever had a gag order that was aimed at me particularly. Although I'm a talker when it comes to lawyers. I mean, I have walked out in front of a courthouse in Northern Virginia and talked to 75 news people from a number of countries. And guess what? I suggested my client was not guilty of what he was charged with. But the context was, in that case, that many people in government had commented about my client, and they had created an atmosphere that was not consistent with getting a fair trial. And so my little voice was the answer to all of them.
Well, let's talk about your little voice for a second. And of course, me being the writing lady, I want to get into the book if we can talk again about it, because Drew didn't let me scratch the surface. You know, he only lets me say so many words.
Can I sue her for
He has a gag order against me.
That's right.
Oh.
Yeah. I know. We'll talk offline about it.
I can represent you.
Yeah, there you go. Excellent.
Well, you're representing me. You can't do both sides. You can't do plaintiff.
You heard it here.
That's a conflict. Yeah.
Right.
We'll do a debate off and see who he represents. Yeah. That's the next time we get on. But let's talk about the book for a second. So can you remind us of the title and a little bit about it, and then we'll just kind of get into it from there.
The title is Justice at Trial. It is a memoir, but very often in each of the 19 chapters, the hero or heroine is perhaps a client, perhaps a young lawyer that was working with me, or a judge in some cases. And I got very good advice in the beginning, which was, it's not about you, it's about the reader. And as a reader myself, I read a lot of books each year. I appreciated that. So I tried to write a book that would take the reader inside the courtroom, show them the suspense and the anxiety of people, the clients, my own nervousness, waiting for juries to come back. You know, what is that like? And tried to make it as real as possible.
Yeah. A couple questions that come up for me when people are asking me about writing their memoirs is, one, you know, did you just write it all out there? I mean, it's kind of ironic, the legality of talking about some of these cases. Did you... how did you kind of go through that process?
Well, I approached it with great caution, eliminate a lot of cases, two big ones.
Okay.
That each of them would make a separate book. They were that interesting, but for professional reasons and the requests of clients and so on, they didn't want it in there, and I respect that, so I didn't do it. Given the fact that I practiced for 60 years, a number of clients are no longer with us. So that certainly eased up my restrictions.
Yeah.
And or I would talk to the person and see if it was okay, and let them know I was going to do it. So I'm a lawyer, and I did all that. The other thing was that I picked the cases where very often the hero was the client. And very, very often we won, although I have a couple of cases in there that we lost because I did lose some cases. And although I think I lost 13 and I tried 150 or something like that, but I'll tell you a secret. It's all in the definition of win and loss.
That's true.
Okay. But no, if we did better than the money we offered in the civil case, that's a win.
Yeah.
So that's the background on your question.
Yeah, we're chatting with Jim Brosnahan. He's an author, attorney. His memoirs, Justice at Trial, Courtroom Battles, and Groundbreaking Cases, senior of counsel at Morrison Foerster. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We're the nation's longest-running community podcast, and I've been doing it for 17 years. We're brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union in these beautiful Mission Fed studio and Scripps Ranch. Mission Fed's been doing great things for more than 6 decades. Joined by my co-host, and it's just so apropos that we're talking to an author here. Kristen Fogel is the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc., is an expert in all of this. They'll be celebrating their 20th anniversary in 2024. So you're talking to a real pro, and I don't mean me. Jim, you're talking to Kristen, and Kristen, Chris has been interviewed on my show a bunch of times. Is memoir gaining in popularity, Kristen?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you and I have talked about memoir a number of times.
Right.
And let's just be real, I'm not an expert on memoir. I'm an expert in guiding the instructors and all of that sort of stuff. So I can't say I'm the memoir specialist, but I do have a pulse for where memoir is at. And you're right, everybody wants to tell their story now. I mean, and I'm for it. I'm a big nonfiction gal. I read very little fiction. It's always, nonfiction, memoirs, things like that, because just what happens in real life is so fascinating. I actually had another follow-up memoir question, if I may.
Of course.
So another challenge that I see with memoir writers is they want to get the facts right. And for you have a lot of source material, to pull from. But what did you do, or how did you handle these kind of gaps in your memory? Like you can't possibly know what you were thinking for every single case, especially when you're dating back to the 60s, the 70s, all of that. So how did you deal with those sort of situations?
Well, there's a term that you know very well called literary nonfiction.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know something happened, then you can, within limits, you can recreate that moment.
Mm-hmm.
When a jury returns, there's certain things. I have a great memory for long transactions and cases and things. So, for example, a jury returned in one of my chapters. I didn't know what they were going to do. I sat there. I looked at the jury. And you can always tell what they're going to do, because if they won't look at you, you're done. You're toast.
Yeah.
And so I looked down the front row, and when I got to number 6, who was a cab driver in San Francisco, his right eyelid went down. And I'm never going to forget that. That's in the book. He was telling me it's okay. We acquitted Steve Sanakis, who was charged with making bombs in his house in San Francisco. In a very nice neighborhood, by the way. And but that all happened. But my mental states, I know exactly. Jury goes out. They might be out for 5 days. I had a jury out for 13 days. And if you can imagine the tension of the client in a criminal case waiting for that jury, those are the kind of things I wanted to get across in the book, which I did. So everything that happened in my memoir that's written there happened with my literary factual support.
Jim, let me question for you. For those people, of course, we watch enough shows about, court cases on TV, whether they're, fictional, cases or whatever the case may be, or obviously you dealt in the real world on this. But for those people who have never been in a courtroom and forget being a defendant, are called as a witness, it's nerve-wracking on them as well, is it not?
Very much so, and they're scared, and they may be scared about the things that they have told me about, and they very often are scared about the things they didn't tell me about. And some of the best detective writers, I'm reading a good one right now, lay that out. In other words, the client doesn't always tell the lawyer everything that really happened. And sometimes they can't tell you. They can't even tell themselves that what they really did. So the trial lawyer is a psychologist trying to dig in without hurting them, but trying to not start a trial when you don't know everything that happened. I am of the criminal defense school. I wanted to know everything that happened. My question to myself was, what happened here? How did they possibly do this? And I wanted to get all those facts. If that resulted in a plea bargain, that's probably the right result. But I wanted to know what really happened, not on the first interview, because they just would probably lie to you, and then you have to overcome all that. But lawyers are like the priests, the ministers, the rabbis. We're sometimes the only one that will talk to this person. Nobody wants to talk to them anymore because of what they, quote, did, end of quote.
Yeah, Jim, we come back from break. I want to talk about more about this, and I'm fascinated by law. And one of my favorite courses when I was getting my master's degree was law of mass media. You and I have touched base on that. Con law and iconic cases such as Times versus Sullivan and so forth. In that area, my business partner, Charles Parisi, the CEO and founder of Cloudcast Media, his daughter is a brilliant third-year law student at Duke and is doing just some great things too. I'm trying to convince Charles to ask you a question, but he's going to take the fifth right now on that one. So when we come back from break, I think he's going to ask you a question or two, and we'll get back to some more questions with our writing expert, Kristen Fogel, when we return with Jim Brosnahan, author of Justice at Trial, Courtroom Battles, and Groundbreaking Cases, is a senior counsel at Morrison Forster. I'm Drew Schlosberg, as you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 17th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. I've been doing great things for more than 6 decades in our San Diego region, joined by my very cool co-host, Kristen Fogel. She's the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc., so how apropos that she's chatting with Jim about his memoir, Justice at Trial. That's Jim Brosnahan. And Jim, say hi to my colleague. He's the CEO and founder of Cloudcast Media, Charles Parisi.
Jim, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. By the way, I want the whole world that's listening to know that Jim is such a gentleman because he sent me an email saying he would love to send a copy of the book for my daughter.
Oh, wow. That is fantastic.
So, Jim, I really appreciate that.
So, question.
I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, do you have a question for Jim?
I do. And Jim, since Drew was kind of nudging me to ask you a question, I actually do have a question. I want to preface it by sharing with you, and I hope that you love this project we're about to unfold here at Cloudcast. We're creating a show specifically about the world of lawyers. It's called Juris Dreamers, JD.
Oh.
And so we have a young future law student by the name of Ann Alvarez who is going to be hosting that show. She's heading off to law school next September. Incredible story, Jim. Her dad brought her here from Mexico in an unbelievable ascent. Ended up going to UCSD, did phenomenal on her LSATs, and she's going to be heading to a top law school. So this show, Juris Dreamers, we're going to be interviewing folks like yourself, and I'm hoping that live on the air you're going to volunteer to be one of our first guests, because the whole show is about, and so I'm going to ask you the question. By obtaining that JD degree, do you feel that you lived out your dreams? And that's question one. Question two is, what would you say to future dreamers who are interested in getting that JD degree?
As my book explains, I had, in the early days were not that easy for me, but I took a hold of the idea of being a lawyer in college, and I thank the Jesuits at Boston College for that, in part. My dreams were to be a trial lawyer. I didn't know there was anything else. These were my heroes, the ones I learned about, saw a couple on television. And why? Because you could confront a truth, you could take truth and use it against power that was wrong. And I like that. That appealed to me. And it appealed to me for a lot of reasons in the book. But that's what I wanted to do. And I can't tell you the luck that I've had. And some of it is in the book. At each juncture of my profession, including that I'm senior of counsel at Morrison Forrester, and I'll be 90 in
That's incredible.
In January, and I'm still talking. So
and writing.
I loved it, and I loved it from the first. And the book has my first trial with a murder case, prosecuted, and I loved the action. And part of that came from sports. I had played sports.
Mm-hmm.
And so the answer to the first question is my dreams were fulfilled to the point where I tell young people, young lawyers, I would start again. So give me a 25-year. I know that people were not happy with law and they left, and so, but whatever. But give me a 25-year-old body and give me the $300 a month that they paid me when I started.
Yeah. Well,
and I'll get a trial and I'll be happy as a clam. I mean, really,
that's incredible.
Just, it's that good.
That's incredible.
For the right people. The second question, what was it?
The second question. So, what would you say to future dreamers, future juris dreamers, future JDs, future lawyers? What would you tell them?
I would tell them they're going into one of the greatest times to be a lawyer that I can imagine, especially if they're interested in reform. You look at Congress and you just shake your head, not just for the obvious reasons, but because there's an absence of sound coming out of senators at a time when we are faced, by anybody's interpretation, with a very dramatic set of confrontations, no matter which side you're on. But there's no oratory. I taught trial practice and persuasion at Berkeley Law for 10 years. And I know that young people have the capability of giving wonderful speeches, but I sit and I listen and wait for, in my party, the Democratic senators to stand up in the town square or its electronic equivalent and move people to keep this country solid. I wish I could do it, to go back to the first question. We
can only hope that you could do that. In fact, that we'd be better off.
So that's my answer. Yeah.
Hey, so I have a question for you, because Drew, Chris, and I we love stories, and I'm personally fascinated by memory and how memories are formed, how they're recalled. So now you mentioned something that I want to hear a little bit more. Can you take us back to that very first time you walked into that courtroom for that murder trial. Tell me everything about it. What month was it? What was the weather like? What were you wearing? Tell me.
What were the smells like? What were the sounds?
It was April the 10th, 1961. I had 6 days to prepare. The two defendants were seated in the courtroom. They had an older lawyer there, and Judge Wallenberg from San Francisco was visiting. And I was joined by an experienced prosecutor who had shown me the ropes over the 6 days and was going to sit at the table, do a couple of things, but I was mostly responsible for the trial. And as I started, the first thing I had to do was select the jury. And there were people from Phoenix, northern Arizona sitting there, various kinds. And I questioned them, not knowing really how to do that. And juror number 3 in the back row wore a Hawaiian shirt. My wife's the smartest one in the family, and she believes that. And I've never tried. She went to the Harvard Law School as I did, and I've never even tried to convince her that I have this kind of memory. So the two defendants were from Batesville, Arizona, a town that had 6 houses at that time. It was out on the res. And they were from that town, and I had gone there and always go to the scene. And I went out there, looked around, and there were these houses, modest houses, I must say. So juror number 3, one of my questions was, where do you live? He said, I live on the res. I said, where do you live on the res? He said, Batesville, Arizona. He was in one of the other houses of the 6 of the houses where the defendants lived. So I asked him, do you know the defendants? And he said, no. And that was my first juror that lied to me. There have been many more.
Right.
Here's what I knew. Aha, brilliant Brosnahan, you should try a lawyer. I need to get rid of this guy. And so we challenged him, and he left. All that happened on the 10th of April, 1961.
The beginning of
There's a lot more in the book too.
I am shaking my head because I literally cannot remember what I had for lunch yesterday. And I'm just so in awe of your recall.
Well, I got to tell you something. And we're chatting with Jim Brosnahan, author, famous trial lawyer. His book is Justice at Trial, Courtroom Battles and Groundbreaking Cases, senior counsel at Morrison Forster. I'm Drew Schlosberg, joined by Charles Parisi, CEO and founder of Cloudcast Media, and Kristen Fogel, my co-host, executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. But Kristen, I'll tell you something, and Jim will know this, because I'm a former sports writer, Jim, and we have more sequential, I should say, or consequential information stuck in our heads as being sports guys. So I can recall stuff from God knows when, the most ridiculous thing, Ty Cobb's batting average, Babe Ruth's home runs.
Ted Williams hit
406 in his last year.
344 lifetime average.
Exactly right. You used to see this splendid splinter.
What I had for lunch yesterday, by the way, I have no idea.
Yeah, well, that's what
that makes me feel slightly better.
Don't embarrass me and say what you have for lunch.
So you have another question now, Charles?
I one little other detail because I want to picture Jim walking into that courtroom. Jim, tell me what you were wearing that day.
He's thinking.
It's a good question. By that time, I had actually appeared in courts a little bit, but nothing serious. I hadn't done anything. I certainly hadn't tried a case. But I was in Arizona, and I was, generically at least, I was wearing boots. I was wearing a
string tie?
tie.
Bolo tie, okay.
And a kind of Western clothes. And in general, that's what I was doing. I was trying to fit in. Hello, I'm from Boston. And and I've come to be a trial lawyer with you people, so listen to me carefully. And so I was trying to fit into Arizona.
That's incredible.
Yeah, Jim, listen, we can't thank you enough for coming back on. I know Charles is going to follow up with you regarding the new show that he's ginning up and so forth. And listen, I could be talking to you, and Chris and I could be talking to you for days on end, and we would bore the heck out of you. Well, actually, I would bore the heck out of you. Kristen doesn't bore anybody for that matter. All I can say is thank you so much. You'll be getting a follow-up with Charles down the road on this this new show that's ginning up. I want to wish you and your bride nothing but a peaceful and fun and relaxing and memorable holiday season. And don't be surprised if we ping you and Deb and have you come back on somewhere down the road.
And Drew, I might add.
Well, all the best to the three of you. Happy holidays.
Thank you so much. And Drew, I might mention.
Yeah.
Maybe have Jim come back. I want to hear how the murder trial ended up.
All right, you know what? All right, Jim, so now the gauntlet has been thrown, and we'll have you come back sometime after the first of the year. Jim, great chatting with you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
You bet. We've been talking to Jim Brosnahan, author and attorney. His book is Justice at Trial. It's a memoir, Courtroom Battles and Groundbreaking Cases. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, joined by my wonderful co-host, Kristen Fogel, Executive Director of San Diego Writers, Inc., and my business partner, Charles Parisi, the CEO and founder of Cloudcast Media. We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.